I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 6th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is a tulathromycin injection with proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price. With no BS, end of story. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards. Joplin back on regular schedule now. They'll start to sell at 6 o'clock in the morning, expecting around 7,000 head. Be a lot of calves, be a lot of odd lots of calves this time of year. But we're just hoping that the market's good enough, and it has came back. Hope the market's good enough to hold the heavier receipts there. But expecting a good sale there in Joplin. Don't forget, on November the 15th, here coming up next Wednesday, they're going to have a special cow and bull sale there. Starts at 6 o'clock in the evening after the regular cow and bull sale. They'll have several consignments of bred cows and pairs there. Cattle Feeders Cave on Friday. The last time we talked, it was actually Friday morning, and we were talking about how they hadn't sold any cattle hardly at all in the 5-area feeding region on a negotiated basis up through Thursday, and they, we didn't see any more of that. They did trade several cattle on Friday, and they didn't get any more than what we knew we could have got all week. Probably could have played a little bit harder ball, but of course the board was down on Friday, and it spurred a little bit of trade. But most of your live sales are around 185, 184 to 185, and dress sales from 291 to 292. But like I said on Friday, kind of would have liked to have seen them lock the gates and see how desperate the Packers would have got for some cattle, because they're really short bought, especially in the southern plains. They're hauling cattle from the Midwest down to the southern plains for slaughter, and they're wanting to step up, kill a little bit. They really haven't, but they would like to, because they know they've got a lot of demand for product coming up here as we approach the holiday season. But like I said, the board was weaker on Friday after recovering very well, especially your feeder market. Your feeder board recovered big time on Thursday, and then back off a couple bucks on Friday. But we've pretty much regained everything that we had lost there 2 weeks ago today with the bearish cattle on feed report and the ensuing crash of your futures market. We've gotten that all back, but we're just wondering now, as we enter this week, especially your big high volume Monday sales, like I mentioned, Joplin going to have 7,000, Oklahoma City's expecting close to 10,000, and then all your big early week high volume sales are going to be back on schedule, having a big run because a lot of them didn't get many cattle last week because of the cold snap, and also because the market was so much lower. Nobody wants to sell on a fresh down market. And like I said, the market's pretty much bounced back. It'll be interesting to see how well your cash feeder market holds up, especially on calves, with the bigger receipts that we get here early this week. And so it'll be interesting to see how well it'll hold up for that. We know we've got a much lighter calf crop, and been talking with several people about how much lighter we think the calf crop is. It's significantly lighter, and I'm not sure what percentage of them we've sold, especially in the northern plains, but we haven't heard hardly anybody having a problem getting enough trucks this fall, as opposed to last fall and several years back. It's just been getting really tough, as not as many bull haulers out there as what there was several years ago. But and there's not a lot of money in it for them, guys, as high as diesel is right now and all the other expenses that they've got. But you're not hearing people not being able to get cattle moved out of sale barns, even in the big runs that they're having, like in South Dakota and Nebraska and places, not having that much trouble finding trucks to get those hauled off. So that goes to show you right there, we've got a much lighter calf crop that we've been selling here. And as we get closer down to the into this month here, this new month we just started for Thanksgiving time. Right in time, if you guys have heard about this highly pathogenic avian flu bug that's out there, and it is affecting your poultry and your turkey and all that, and probably harder on your commercial turkeys. So that's going to make that more expensive for everybody, but likely still not expensive enough to where your typical consumer is going to go out there and get a prime rib instead of a turkey, because they're not going to be that much, in comparison, cheaper. But there were 46 cases with 1.4 million birds affected here late last week, so that's pretty significant. Let's talk about your board for all of last week on your cattle futures. December live cattle, Monday was up 12 cents, Tuesday was down 37, Wednesday was up 7 cents, Thursday up $1.05, and then Friday down 80 cents, with December live cattle futures ending the week $1.65 higher at 183.87. February ended the week at 185.22, up 227. Your November feeder cattle, Monday was up 77 cents, Tuesday up 2 cents, Wednesday up 87, Thursday was up 405, and then Friday down 202. But November feeder cattle ended the week at 240.60, and that was up $3.70 for the week. January feeder cattle up 405 for the week at 239.75. And your grains were down, but not terribly down, or corn anyway. December corn ended the week 3.5 cents lower at 477 1/4. Beans were actually higher. November beans up 30 1/4 cent at 1327 1/2 at the end of the week. Kansas City hard red winter wheat, after being very volatile all week, ended the week just 1/2 cent higher at 643 1/2. Your fat cattle trade for last week, like I said, there's very, very little trade to even talk about, which is the best I have put together is what happened up through Thursday of last week. And there was only 5,000 cattle, finished cattle, that sold out of all 5 areas up through Thursday. I mean, we can talk about the market. It was 181 to 185 the early part of last week, and up through Thursday, with the weighted average on live steers at 184.35. Dress sales from 291 to 292, and your weighted average on dress steers 291.69. But the trade happened on Friday, and on Friday Iowa sold confirmed sales of 12,300 head, only 15,300 for the week. Live sales on Friday in Iowa 183 to 185 1/2. Dress sales from 290 to 292.75. Nebraska 10,500 head for the confirmed sales on Friday. Just 11,400 for the week is very light for them. They likely did more business late Friday that we haven't seen yet. But live sales from 184 1/2 to 185. Dress sales from 290 to 292.75. Kansas didn't sell a lot of cattle up to 2 o'clock on Thursday. They waited till the last minute in the Southern Plains. You have to give the guys credit. They tried to hold out, but they want to continue to aggressively market these cattle so they don't get set up and backed up, and want to stay ahead of the game. But up through 2 o'clock on Thursday, or on Friday, they'd only sold a load of cattle, and that was confirmed in Kansas. Only 800 head for the week. That load brought 292 dressed. Texas didn't trade any early there, just 400 head for the week. But I did hear that we had fairly significant trade. It's not going to be robust or anything in the Southern Plains at 185 on Friday afternoon late. So it'll be interesting to see the report that comes out here on Monday, that I'll give you on our next visit, to see how much trade we actually had for the week in the 5-area feeding region. Box beef cutout values went the wrong way for the week. Your weighted average on all of last week's choice cutout sales down $1.78 compared to the previous week's weighted average at 304.70. And your late week Friday afternoon sales were about $2 or a little over $2 lower than that at 302.34. Selects, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 277.06. That was down 424. And your late Friday sales there were at 272.01, $5 cheaper than that. So didn't have a lot of trade, even though they lowered the price levels late in the week, but lost ground, and it's unclear why your packers are not able to get that going. But your choice select spread on your weighted average trade last week was $27.64, and pretty decent spot trade of 679 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter, 632,000 for the week last week. That was 4,000 less than the previous week, 36,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Stay Tough Fencing has sales representatives that offer personal assistance in product selection, planning, and layout, as well as fence installation training. So don't worry about if you're not sure how to do it, they'll make sure you know how and help you pick out what you want to do. Stay strong, stay tight, stay tough with Stay Tough Fencing. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction based on the 800-pound cash auction steer up through the middle 12 states ended the week at 234.85. That was up $3.35 for the week. And that's kind of what we saw as your cash feeder sales regained what they had lost the previous week, and a lot of your feeder sales from $2 to $5 higher around. And it kind of depended. A lot of places didn't have a good test because we had a cold snap, but now they're going to start coming to the calves a little faster now. It was coming up, and I'm coming to you from Lake Preston, South Dakota, staying at my buddy's house, Steve Hashey of Hashey Insurance. Steve and his son John have a Hashey Insurance, and they do crop insurance and do the livestock policies and all the like up here. But going to be giving a presentation in Redfield, South Dakota on Monday evening after the Heritage Place horse sale over the weekend. Came up to Manhattan, Kansas, and did a presentation at the Kansas Cattlemen's Association. Got me a fancy new vest here with the KCA logo on there, but they had a great turnout at the convention of the Kansas Cattlemen's Association. We had a great time. We had a fundraiser auction there, and everybody was participating. We all went down to Aggieville, had a big time, and enjoyed hanging out with those guys from the KCA. I wanted to give you the results of the Dublin Livestock, Dublin, Texas wean vac special sale that they had on Friday there, and it was a humdinger. And I told you that they had one big consignment there, a couple of loads of NHTC aged and sourced with the beef care cattle right there, and they sold from the farm. And so they sold from the farm, but right in the barns where they had the auction. They were based at 750 pounds, the steers, and brought 264.35 in Dublin, Texas. The heifers had a base weight of 700 pounds and bring 251. So I thought that was pretty impressive, and congratulations to Tanner Monk and everybody at Dublin, Texas there. Talk about your big sales late in the week or over the weekend. How about Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota? They had 9,500 head for their Friday sale. Steer calves weighing over 450 sold from $4 to $15 higher. Heifers had a similar trend. And I thought it was interesting, since they had a good test this past Friday and then the previous Friday, is take all those 5-weight steer calves, the weaned ones, and compare the price on them. This past Friday they had 2,528 head of weaned 5-weight steer calves. They averaged 550 pounds with a weighted average price of $305.09, and that was over $6 higher than the weighted average from the previous week with a similar number of 5-weight steer calves there. But in those 5 weights, it included a package they considered to be thin or in an attractive flesh condition. There was 87 of them They weighed 504 and bring 330 and a half. I'll give you several individual quotes. How about St. Ange Livestock in St. Ange, South Dakota, way out west. 115 head of 496 pound steer calves bring 338 right there at 500 pounds. Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska, they sell 57 steers, weigh 508 at 331. Lexington Livestock Market in Lexington, Nebraska sells 55 steers, weighed 709 at 279. Thought that was really impressive. Out east, Bluegrass Stockyards of Richmond, Kentucky sells 52 steers, big steers, weigh 1043 at 221.60, standing in the ring in Richmond, Kentucky. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and your Macrison No BS top quote for the day, come out of Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota, with 60 big steers, weighed 946 at 244. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.